Hi everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. Thanks so much for all the people that have subscribed this week. It is pretty awesome and we really do appreciate it. And to all you who have been here for a while, respect to you. Make sure you pop in the comments when you first join the channel and we'll be picking out a few winners for a free game. Thanks to Cubic Games for those codes. As always, we're going to go through some of the games that already came out that you might have missed, and then some of the best ones coming out in the following week. Glen's written this, so I'm sure he's put in a few ridiculously difficult to say Japanese words just to wind me up, but we shall persevere. What's coming up? Well, let's find out. First, for the games already out, we have Dark Nights with Poe and Munro. This looks to be one of those FMV story games, although this one describes itself as 6 TV-like episodes of supernatural strangeness. To be fair, I do like the setup. The titular Poe and Munro are local radio hosts who encounter 6 mysteries both on and off of the air throughout the course of that evening. There's a point-and-click timed hotspot interface, alternating endings for each episode with hundreds of branches and almost 5 hours of full-screen HD video. We also had Epistory, the Typing Chronicles, launched this week. We've got a video all about that one, so we'll pop a link to that in the top pinned comment. The first one of this week's games then is one that's actually been on the coming soon page for such a long time, and it has a demo available for you to try. That's CrisTales. This is an RPG said to be an indie love letter to classic JRPGs, and it centers around a time machine which will see you experience the past, present and future. You can use the time mechanic during the turn-based battles, sending enemies into the past so that they become younger and weaker versions of themselves, or into the future where they may succumb to the effects of a poison attack inflicted on them in the present. This all definitely sounds intriguing in theory. It appears this time mechanic will also be integral to navigating the open world and moving the story along, which sounds a bit like Chrono Trigger, an absolutely classic RPG. The blurb mentions the world being altered based on the decisions you make, and the art style really does look quite lovely, to be fair. It's out on the 20th, but the demo is still available if you want to test it out beforehand.
Here, the forces of good and evil fight to control the past, present, and future. Gather what allies you can, no matter where you may find them.
Also out on the 20th is Cotton Reboot. This is a continuation of the classic shoot 'em up, although it was a major player in the creation of the subgenre of cute 'em ups and includes 2 different game modes. You have a new HD version of the classic game with rearranged soundtracks and updated graphics, but you can also play the X68000 port of the original game, the X68000 being a Japanese-only home computer from the late 80s and early 90s. I do very much enjoy shoot 'em ups, as I've mentioned a number of times on the channel, although I must admit that whilst I'm familiar with the Cotton franchise, most notably the Turbo Graphics version, I've never played any of them, so my knowledge of the series is pretty thin. This new game contains online leaderboards according to the blurb and will sell for £34.99 or your regional equivalent, which does seem very expensive. Perhaps someone more knowledgeable in the series can let us know in the comments if it's worth that sort of money. Steam Rails to Riches is next, and this is a digital interpretation of a well-loved board game. You'll need to take control of a railway company, issue shares, build railroads, deliver goods, and hopefully make a profit. It's playable with up to 6 players both locally or online, has 3 levels of AI difficulty if playing alone, and a few different playable maps. It will sell for £17.99 and it comes out on the 20th. On the 22nd, you have Last Stop, which is a third-person adventure developed by Variable State and published by Annapurna Interactive. It tells 3 interconnected tales featuring 3 playable characters. You have that of Donna, who gets more than she bargained for after a game of amateur detective goes wrong. John, a single dad who's jealous of his young and carefree neighbour, a vengeful stranger and a cursed artifact threaten to transform their lives forever. And finally Mina, who is vying with a colleague for a promotion at work when something ancient begins to stir in the basement beneath the workplace. It all sounds very intriguing. There are decisions to make which will shape conversations, and it'll be interesting to see how the stories intertwine. And the other titles we've had on Switch from Annapurna are usually excellent. It's going to sell for £19.49.
All right, I'll get the job done. This is not your fault. If it's anyone's, it's mine.
I think I've made a terrible mistake.
If you want my help, you only have to ask.
Akiba!
Next, there are 3 separate releases, but I'm going to bundle them in together as they're all from the same publisher and look to be very similar. You have Terra, Terra 2 Rock, Slide and Rescue, and Terra Bomber. These are going to sell for £8.99 each, or your regional equivalent, and are all arcade-style games inspired by some of the classics of the early 80s. Terra sees you trying to navigate a spaceship through a series of difficult landscapes to get to a landing bay. Reminds me a little of something like Gravatar in terms of some of the details given in the blurb. Terra 2 sounds similar, but has you rescuing humans with a tractor beam, whereas Terra Bomber is a side-scrolling shooter where you need to destroy the base at the end of the level. I suppose how much content they include or how much nostalgia you have for the games that inspired them will affect your decision, but they all release on the 22nd. Also this week is Aery Calm Mind. There are already a good 3, maybe 4 Aery games on the Switch, as far as I know. They all follow a similar premise of having you playing as a bird gliding through the levels. The blurb describes it as an interactive game experience that will relax your mind and soul. There are no enemies or dangers of any kind, allowing you to enjoy the scenery and the sensation of flying. It certainly looks scenic enough, as do all the Aery games, but it's going to very much depend on why you play games as to whether this one appeals to you. If you enjoy a bit of pure escapism after a hard day with no threat or challenge, then this might be for you. Those looking for more of a traditional game might have to look elsewhere. Either way, it's going to sell for £7.99 or your regional equivalent. Finally for the week, we have Akiba's Trip, Hellbound and Debriefed. This is a HD update of the first game in the Akiba's Trip series, which originally released for the PSP in Japan in 2011. Supernatural creatures are appearing in You have to get a bit at the end. Supernatural creatures are appearing in Kimbara. Supernatural creatures are appearing in... Try saying in Incombara. Supernatural creatures are appearing in Incombara. Oh, Glen. Supernatural creatures are appearing in Incombara, and you have turned into one of them too. You need to arm yourself with one of many bizarre weapons, such as a guitar or laptop, with more traditional ones also being available. An attempt to knock the clothes off your enemy... Let's try that one again. Oh my word. An attempt to knock the clothes off of your enemy... Oh, for flip's sake. You did this on purpose. Alright, an attempt to knock the clothes off of your enemies to expose them to their only weakness, sunlight. I've never played this series. It sounds a little bit like another series in Senran oh, for flip's sake. It sounds a little bit like another series in Senran Kangura, the beat-em-up entries of that series, even if it is just with the clothes destroying aspect. Anyway, the blurb goes on to say that you can choose your side and that the Akiba layout is realistic to the shops and buildings you would have found there in 2011. It's going to set you back £34.99 or your regional equivalent, and it releases on the 23rd. Now, didn't I say there at the start that Glen would throw in a load of Japanese words that I couldn't pronounce, and I apologise profusely if you're from those regions and I butchered the pronunciations. Thanks, Glen, for writing this one, and we do hopefully you've got a good idea of the best games coming out in the coming week. Do subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thanks to our patrons who support us each and every month, and as always, for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!